Hi everyone, welcome back. Thank you for being here. I hope that you're well. Today I'm going to be doing my November wrap-up. It is coming quite late this month, so I'm sorry about that, but I wanted to get some other content out before I put this video out, so yeah, without further ado, we're going to get into it. I wanted to start incorporating stats into every single one of my wrap-ups now because I started putting a stats page into my bullet journal. I am going to be putting stats into every single one of my videos now, or wrap-ups, because I just think that it's interesting. Unless you guys don't like stats, and then I won't do it anymore. But for right now, I'm going to put stats in there. So we're going to go over that. We're also going to go over the star ratings and everything else too. So let's get into it. So for the month of November, I read 8 books. Much to no one's surprise, I didn't do the full TBR at this point. I'm just kind of assuming failure, but it's okay. It's fine, right? So I read 3,103 pages. I read 3 contemporary books, 1 sci-fi book, 1 dystopian book. It's windy outside if you hear that, I'm sorry. 1 mystery thriller, and then 2 YA fantasy books. One of the books was a reread this month, so I'm not going to be including it in the next 2 stats. So I want to include my year bought for books into my stats now because I want to prioritize books that have been on my TBR the longest. So that was May of last year is the oldest book of my TBR. So I want to prioritize 2019 books versus books bought this year. But a few books from 2020 will always sneak into certain things, so that's why I want to put it in here so I can tell you guys about it. So, but I'm not going to include my reread for this and then the next stat because it doesn't count. So 6 books were bought in 2019 and then 1 book was a 2020 buy, which is good. That's where I want to be with that kind of stuff. And then for the series stats, I want to track how many series I'm starting, progressing in, and then finishing, and how many standalones I read, just because I want to prioritize continuing on series versus starting them, which usually doesn't happen, but I want to track it anyways. So, and like I said, the reread isn't going to count in this one either. So I had 1 continuation series, I had 1 beginning series, and then I had 4 standalones. So a lot of standalones last month, which isn't a bad thing. I'm glad I didn't start a bunch of new series, right? So my first read of November was This Time Will Be Different by Misa Sugiura. This is a YA contemporary book about a girl named, did I seriously forget her name already and I only read it a month ago? CJ. Stupid. She is a Japanese American. She works for her family's flower shop that has been descended from generations, but during World War II, after Pearl Harbor happened and the Japanese Americans were put into internment camps, she and her family lost that flower shop, and then they were at risk for losing it again present day. So I thought this book was really good. I think it talked about a lot of important topics. I gave it 3 stars. I feel like I should say for contemporaries, 3 stars is a good rating. Like, I personally am going more towards not liking YA contemporary anymore because I feel like it's just getting too young for me. So like a 4 star is gonna be like my highest rating for contemporaries. Like, I'm never gonna rate a YA contemporary 5 stars probably from now on unless it absolutely blows me away. Especially ones that aren't hard hitting. Like, I like hard hitting contemporaries that's gonna make me cry, but I don't like just like flowery basic like YA contemporaries. So a 3 star is a pretty good rating for me on contemporary scale. So this talked about a lot of good things. It talked a lot about white saviorism. It talked a lot about racism. It talked a lot about how although you are not responsible for your ancestors' actions, if you are still upholding those actions to this day, then you are responsible for it now. So I'm not going to embellish on that because it will spoil a lot of things for the story, but it talks a lot about that too. And it talked a lot about, there's talk about abortion in here, there's talk about, yeah, I think that's it. The main thing I had, or the main problem I had with this book was that it followed the same plotline that a lot of different contemporaries do. So our main character has a best friend, and she has a crush on the popular boy in school. She's not a very good friend to her best friend, has a lot of faults to her character. She ends up making friends with a dorky guy who ends up having a crush on her, but she doesn't really see it yet. She doesn't have a crush on him back, and then all of a sudden, like, things escalate to where she has a fight with her best friend, and she has no friends for a while, and she kind of goes through like a self-realization thing, and she finds out, oh hey, I kind of like that dorky boy, and I kind of am a bad friend to my best friend, and then it's like, okay. And then she ends up making it with her best friend and then being better at the end of the book. And it's just like, I have read that same contemporary at least 10 times now, and this same exact thing happened with this book, and it's like, I just need a different contemporary. Like, I had recently read a contemporary like a few months ago that had followed the same exact plotline as this one, and I was like, okay. And it's just kind of like, I just want more of a plot than that. Like, I don't want the same plot in every single book. And then even the most, like, a topic that I don't really hear about in YA contemporary, which is abortion. It was mentioned in this book, but it wasn't like a huge part of the book, and it was kind of just like skated over at the end of it, and it's like, okay, can we have more of that though? Because it didn't really talk about how it affected her relationships or like anything else like that. It talked about, oh, it happened, and then that's it. And it was like, okay, I mean, whatever, right? But yeah, overall, I liked her writing. Misa Segura is a very good writer. I think that I will try out her books in the future if I find them interesting, but that book was, it was good, but it also had a lot of issues to it, but that's fine. Next, I read The Astonishing Color of After, but I can't find it anywhere in my room, so I'll put a photo. This is a book about a girl whose mother has just committed suicide, and she believes beyond all reason that she has turned into a bird, and all of a sudden a box shows up at her doorstep of stuff from her mother's life in Taiwan, and our main character has no relationship with her grandparents and doesn't even know who they are. So she makes a decision to go to Taiwan to go look for her mother and to find out who her grandparents are. I gave this book 4 stars. I found myself really disappointed in this book. And not that that's a bad thing. I'm going to make a video next week, I think, of the most disappointing books of 2020, because it wasn't like a bad book, but I had such high hopes for it that I thought it was gonna be like one of my favorite books of all time, and it just wasn't. It wasn't. I found it to be really confusing at certain parts, and I found it to be not like, it was impactful, but it didn't make me like feel as much as I wanted it to make me feel. And that could be just a whole like my problem with it. It could just be me that feels that way, but I was overall disappointed in it, but I still enjoyed it. Like, I still gave it 4 stars, but I just want it to be a 5-star new favorite of all time, and it wasn't that at all. I'll talk about that more in my disappointment video, but yeah, that's the whole consensus for that book. The next book I read was More Than This by Patrick Ness, which is a sci-fi book about, our main character's name is Seth, and he remembers dying. He ended up drowning to death, and he wakes up and he doesn't know if he's dead or if he's still like in a different world. And we go through the entire book deciding whether he is dead or if it's something's going on that he doesn't really know about. So I gave this book 3 stars. It was good, and once again, I think I'm going to go into this whole conversation of, I think this is just my own feelings about it, but I had recently read A Monster Calls this year, and that has become my favorite book of all time, like my #1 spot. Like, it has replaced everything else. So going into this book, it felt like I was gonna love it, and I had so much high expectations set for that, and it just didn't meet them. And that is completely me, and I get that. Just so you know, this book has like only 4 and 5-star ratings from everyone else that I follow that is here on BookTube. So if you don't listen to me about this. Like, if you want to read it, you go and read it, because it's completely me that has an issue with this book, and I completely understand that. But I had such high expectations set out for this that it just didn't meet them. I just felt like I wanted more from the book, and Patrick Ness is a really good writer, and I really do enjoy his writing, but this book just didn't do it for me, and I don't know why. It's just because I had expectations for it and it just didn't meet them. So once again, another book's gonna go in my disappointing books of the year. So yeah. Next, I read Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. This is a book about 2 main characters named Penny and Sam. Penny kind of doesn't like her home life. She has issues with her mom, and she has a boyfriend that she doesn't really like, and then she ends up going to college in Texas to go and study to become a writer, and she ends up meeting Sam, and Sam has an issue with addiction, and also he is homeless. He's sleeping at the cafe that he also works at, so he has a lot of financial issues, and he wants to become a movie director, but he doesn't have the money to go to college for it. And then one day when Sam is having a mental health crisis, Penny ends up seeing him and basically makes him feel better about it, and then they end up becoming each other's emergency contact, where they have a relationship only through texting and don't really talk in person. And then they end up talking in person, and then things escalate from there. So I gave this book 4 stars. One of the better contemporaries I've read. I think that it was really cute. Penny was really unlikable in the first like 50 pages of this book, but then she got really, really relatable and a lot better. I really did connect with Penny a lot towards the end of the book, and I love Sam. Sam was a really, really awesome character. Like I said, this book talks a lot about addiction and strained relationships with her mother, and then I think that's it. Oh, and then it also talks about rape too, so just know before going into that there is talk about that. It's not graphic, it's just mentioned, and it talks about the situation a little bit, but it's not that bad. But it could be a potential trigger for you, just so you know. So I highly recommend this book. And then I kind of want to read Permanent Record by her, so if you liked it, let me know, please. I want to read it, but I need convincing first. Next I read The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. This is a thriller mystery. It's a dual timeline story about the very beginning, which is the police had rumors of hearing about a cult in a certain house, and when they ended up going into the house, there was 4 dead adults and then a baby that was very well kept for upstairs. And present timeline is the baby all grown up and then finding out that she has inherited the house that the murder happened in, and kind of figuring out who that family was and whatever. And when she gets there, she finds out that, or she hears some really suspicious stuff in the house, I guess, as if someone's still living there. So we kind of go through that. I gave this book, I think I gave it 3 stars. Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It really wasn't like a thriller mystery book. It was more of just, it was kind of mysterious, but it really, like, I don't even know what to classify this as because it didn't thrill me or mystify me, to say the least. I just found it to be, I liked the exploration of what it feels like to be in a cult and how people can get so easily brainwashed by people who are very charismatic and very convincing, right? But I just didn't like a lot about the story, and I can't really put my finger on it. I just think that the writing was okay. It was just, how do I say this? The writing was okay. It was just not that great. Like okay, so I don't read a lot of mystery thriller books, and with that being said, like, I was able to predict almost everything that happened in this book. Like, it was not well thought out, really. And you know, I get it if someone who has read a lot of books can guess what's happening, but with me only reading like 1 or 2 books that have been thriller books, this didn't do it for me. Like, if I was able to predict everything, that means that there was an issue with it, right? So I just didn't like it. My cat's coming. Okay, move your tail. She's sitting on my journal now, so that's gonna be an issue. Okay, we're just gonna keep talking. So yeah, I was able to, it was very predictable. It was very whatever. So I did recently buy Invisible Girl by her, so I'm gonna try one more book out from her, and if I don't like it, then I'm just gonna kind of give up on her forever. But I didn't really like this book that much. So next I read What's Left of Me by Kat Zhang. This is a YA dystopian about when kids are younger, they, okay, ma'am, you need to move. Okay, keep walking. Come here, please. I know, I'm so sorry. And it's a book about when kids are younger, they have a recessive soul and a dominant soul. So there's 2 souls inhabiting one body, and they are considered as 2 different kids until, as they get older, one of the souls ends up fading away and dying. And it's kind of an accepted thing. And then there's people called hybrids who souls don't end up fading away, and our main character is one. And then when they get caught, they get sent to like government facilities and stuff, and they have experimentations done on them. So this was a really good book. I ended up giving like, I think I gave it like 3.75 stars, I think. Yeah, I gave it like 3.75 stars. It didn't feel like a 3-star, but it didn't quite feel like a 4-star. I felt like it was just really young, and the idea was there, the writing was there, it just felt like it was really easy and really young to read. So if you are a part of the younger YA crowd, you'll really enjoy this, but I still enjoyed it. It just wasn't everything for me. And I had recently read this when I was, not recently, I read this when I was like 13 years old, so I loved it then, and I still like it. It's just not the same thing that I read when I was 13 years old. So like I said, if you're a bit younger, you'll probably like this book more than I did, but I did still really enjoy it. Next I read The Converse with the Birds by Ransom Riggs. This is the 5th book? Yeah, the 5th book in the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series. This is, the first book is about a boy named Jacob Portman who travels to Wales following a family tragedy to meet the the kids in the orphanage for Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. And now we kind of follow them throughout the years that they've been together and stuff like that. So this book is really cool because, well, all the books in the series have, like, if I can find a page with it in there, they have like little photos in all of the series, which kind of like ties into the story, but they're really creepy and spooky, and I really like that part of the series. I have a very deep soft spot for the series. Like, I don't really keep up with series as much as I should. I kind of just like buy them out of convenience, but this is one series I've actually been keeping up with over the years. Like, I have been buying the books the year they keep getting released, so, and I really do enjoy them. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I docked it down a 0.5 point. I docked it down a little bit because of the fact that Ransom Riggs cannot write romance. It is not needed in the series, in my own opinion. Like, for the first 4 books, if you've read it, you'll understand how uncomfortable that romance was for us, because it was kind of gross when you think about it. So I didn't like that. And then this new book, there's a new romance in the book that just felt so forced and just felt so unneeded, and I didn't like that. I felt like it did force the plot in a lot of points, and it did make sense why it happened. I still didn't like it though, and I just feel like it's not, like, he just can't write romance in my opinion, so I didn't like that part about it. But everything else was amazing. If you haven't read the series, I would highly recommend it. It is really, really cute. It's really, really spooky, and the idea is so good. Like, he is such a good writer. I've never read anything like this before in my entire life, so I would really recommend the series. And then last book I read, Chamber of Secrets. Obviously 5 stars. This is like my 4th time reading the series. I would like to say though, I don't support J.K. Rowling anymore. I don't think that anyone should support her anymore. I just have a very deep emotional attachment to the series, so I can never stop reading it. But I don't buy any merch from her anymore. I don't want to put money into her pocket. And if you have not read the series yet and you think that you want to, please buy the book secondhand so that you don't put money into her pocket, because she's a very, very horrible person. So, sorry, she's meowing. But like I said, that's like my 4th time reading it. Experience is always so good. I just love this book series so much. I always end up crying no matter what. Like, every single book I cry in, and that is because it just hits so deep and so close to home that I love it. So yeah, like I said, don't support her, but if you want to read it, then definitely buy the book secondhand. And also, don't buy Harry Potter merch. Obviously you do whatever you want, but if you want my own opinion, I don't buy anything from her anymore, because she is horrible. So sorry, my cat's meowing. So I'm gonna go because she's being a brat. So hope that you guys enjoyed this. Sorry it's so late, but hopefully you still liked it. This month, December, has been a very good reading month for me, so I'm very happy about that. Hopefully I'll be able to finish my full TBR for this month, so that's gonna be great. But I'll let you know my wrap up. So yeah. Also, some people have been asking me about why I had to delete my journaling video. I got a copyright claim on it, so I just ended up deleting the video because I didn't want to have to deal with all that mess. So I will make another journaling video next month, or this month, but it'll be going up next month, so don't worry, I'll be making more of them. I'll have to figure out how to make sure I don't get copyright claims anymore. So yeah, I could redo the entire video, but I just don't feel like it because I didn't like the way that the video was filmed anyway, so I'm not going to redo it. But I will be making more journaling content in the future that hopefully will not get taken down for copyright. So have a good day, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. See you in the next one. Goodbye.